If you haven't met me, I'm the senior UX designer on the Lowe's team. After doing a few 10% times that were a little bit more on the practical side, I thought it would be fun to flex my UX muscles doing something I'm passionate about. So I will be sharing with you a digital board game that I created. Cool. So for my 10% time project, I created a digital version of a existing physical board game. This is purely fictional. So while the actual UI screens that you'll see today cannot be directly applied to stream, a lot of the processes I used helped me learn lessons and improve my UX processes overall. So what is Trails, you might be wondering? It is a collaboration between Keymaster Games and 59 Parks. They have this cool thing where every game you buy, a portion of the profits goes actually to supporting national parks, which is pretty cool. I won't bore you with all the rules, but in order to understand like what I'm about to explain, I'll just give you a high level overview of the game mechanics. So in Trails, players hike along the trail to gather resources. Players can spend those resources on badges, which are each worth a specific amount of points. And then at the end of the game, the player with the most amount of points wins. So why would I even create a digital board game? I think that there in the marketplace is kind of a two types of games, like physical games, and then there's highly digital games. But I think that there could be a middle ground where you can all still sit around the table with friends and family and have fun without having the burden of the physical game itself. So a few of the pain points that I noticed when I was playing this game with friends and family is that it takes a very long time to set up. Players have to be like managing the gameplay. So instead of focusing on their individual strategy and kind of enjoying themselves, they have to like worry about the monotony of advancing gameplay. And then at the very end, tallying up the points takes a bit of time. So I'll show you in the future slides how a digital version of that game would play out. And just to understand the slides themselves, the setup of this game would be a little interesting. I don't know that there are games out there that are like this, but basically it would require anyone playing to have an iPad as well as two or more iPhones. So the iPad would sit directly in the center of the table, and then people could log in from their iPhones and interact with the game in that way. So diving a little bit more into the problem, just like to hammer that point home, how long it does actually take to set up. In the rule book that they comes with the game, there's an entire spread dedicated to board setup, and they have a promotional video on their site that's 8 minutes long, and they spend 4 minutes of that video describing how to set up the game. So it's definitely a problem. So the way that the digital version would improve setup is if you've ever played something like Jackbox, an attended games gathering, you'll be familiar with this pattern, but you basically flash a code on screen and then people could join from their device. And once the players are all joined, you could just start the game and the board would be fully set up for everyone. And so, yeah, if you remember the slides from the original physical game, you'd have to place all these pieces in the correct order, but in the digital game, it would be set up for you. Hiking the trail. So this is where a little bit of UX comes in as well. So the interface would be focused only on the actions that the user could take. So if you're a brand new player to a game, you might not know what you're even able to do. But as you can see on that left screen, you can choose between a limited number of actions. So you can either move forward one or move forward two. And then depending on what space you land on, the game would just automatically award you that reward. So you wouldn't have to figure out what the action is on the space that you land on. One of the main mechanics I mentioned earlier was earning badges. And so I think something cool about the digital game is depending on how many resources you have, you can may not be able to earn something. So we could disable any badges that you don't have enough resources for, making it very clear which ones you could earn. And then your points would automatically get added to your total when you bought that badge. Something that is also fun in digital games is that animation could be incorporated. So since this game is all about hiking, the way the game ends is that the sun sets. And in the physical game, you actually flip over those tiles from day to night. But I think it would be really cool if the actual trail sites were animated and the sun would set and the colors would kind of fade as the game progressed. And then finally, announcing the winner. Everyone hates when your brother or uncle cheats at a game by kind of padding their numbers and waiting to be the last person to announce how many points they got. So the game would keep track of all the points that were awarded and automatically do all the math for you. So when the sun set, you would know exactly who won. And that was it for me. That was the digital board game I created last week during 10% time. Don't think I'll rank super high for business value, but I do want to communicate that I did a lot of sketching for this project, which I hadn't done in a while, and I plan to do for future projects. So it's one of those things where it reminds me the passion and the correct process to go through in a UX flow. And I'm really happy and proud of the work that I did this week.
So beautiful. Great job.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah, that looks great. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you for sharing. I had no idea there was a hiking board game.
Yeah, pick it up.
People who like hiking but don't like hiking.
Sometimes the weather's not nice. Just do it on your table.